Hallo, guten Tag und grüezi. How would you translate this sentence here? I would like to speak German. Ich möchte Deutsch sprechen. How about this one? I try to speak German. Ich versuche Deutsch zu sprechen. And what about this one? I watch videos to speak better German. Ich schaue Videos, besser Deutsch zu sprechen. Now, when we just look at the English translation, you always have this to speak. But in German, the first one, there's nothing. Second one has a zu, and the third one has a zu. So when do you have to use which? So the first one, I already gave you the solution. Möchten is a modal verb. It is Konjunktiv 2 of mögen. Mögen is a modal verb. And with modal verbs, you can never build an Infinitivsatz with zu. More about this later in the Bonustipp. So this one is gone. And in this lesson, we actually focus on these two ones. And the big question is when to use zu and when to use zu. And question is actually the right word because at the end, it all comes down to two simple questions. With two simple questions, you can figure out which one you have to use. You have to use zu plus infinitive or zu plus infinitive. And we start with Infinitivsatz mit zu. You probably learned this definition in your German class or in your textbook. Infinitiv mit zu can be used after specific verbs, adjectives, and nouns. Now, the problem is this list can get quite long. And I know for some students, just memorizing verbs or adjective or nouns is not the easiest or is not the funniest thing. So therefore, I did this video to tell you about this hack. I actually learned about this hack on a blog post on a great blog post by Emanuel from Your Daily German. If you don't know him yet, you definitely have to check him out. He has amazing articles about German grammar for any kind of German learners, any level. It's in English, everything explained in English, and it's explained in a very fun, intuitive, and special way. Often a little bit a different approach from the classical textbook style, which I think is for many German learners a great help. Check it out. You find the link down in the description. It's not sponsored at all or anything. He actually even doesn't know it until now, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't mind. So there I read, it's about questions. And for Infinitivsatz mit zu, you ask the question, what? Was? Let me give you an example. And we start with Verben. Infinitiv plus zu für Verben. Tom hat angefangen, Deutsch zu lernen. Tom hat angefangen, Deutsch zu lernen. Tom started to learn German. Oder ich hoffe, die B1-Prüfung zu bestehen. Ich hoffe, die B1-Prüfung zu bestehen. I hope to pass the B1 exam. Now, anfangen und hoffen are one or two of those verbs on this longer list, which you can use to build the Infinitivsatz mit zu. But again, instead of memorizing this list with all these verbs, you just ask the question, what? And you have to focus on the main clause. When you look at those two sentences, so Tom hat angefangen is the main clause, Hauptsatz, und Deutsch zu lernen, this Infinitivsatz is actually a subordinate clause. So we just focus on the main clause. Tom hat angefangen. And now, of course, you ask, what? Was? Was hat angefangen? Hat angefangen, Deutsch zu lernen. Ich hoffe. Was hoffst du? Was hoffe ich? Ich hoffe, die B1-Prüfung zu bestehen. So again, instead of memorizing the verbs, anfangen und hoffen, which you can use to build the Infinitivsatz with zu, just ask the question what. If you can ask the question what for the main clause, then you can build after the subordinate clause with Infinitiv plus zu. Anderes Beispiel, this time we take adjectives plus sein, which is also on this list. Es ist gesund, Sport zu machen. Es ist gesund, Sport zu machen. It's healthy to do sports. Oder es ist wichtig, Wörter zu wiederholen. Es ist wichtig, Wörter zu wiederholen. It's important to review vocabulary. This is a very important thing we see all the time. A lot of students, they go from A1 to B1 very fast, and then they are at B1. Maybe they understand most of the grammar, but they didn't review the vocabulary, and then they cannot speak, even though they are supposedly on B1 level. So this is a very important part of German, of learning German. Not only German, of course, any language, vocabulary. Review these vocabularies, especially if you just want to use it for talking. This was just a small side tip. Let's go back to the grammar here. As well, you can ask what, was. Was ist gesund? What is healthy? Sport zu machen. Was ist wichtig? Was ist wichtig? Wörter zu wiederholen. And we also have Nomen plus haben. Zum Beispiel, hast du Lust ins Kino zu gehen? Hast du Lust ins Kino zu gehen? Oder hast du morgen Zeit, mir zu helfen? Hast du morgen Zeit, mir zu helfen? Do you have time tomorrow to help me? And here as well, we can ask what. But here it's a little bit special because you have to add this to do. You feel like to do what? Or for the second one, you have time to do what? And therefore, you can also answer with a Infinitivsatz mit zu. Which brings me to also an important side note, because this hack here about what to ask this question is not a rule. As you know, German, there's always exceptions, but for the main part, you will get through it and you will be fine. If you can ask this question, what, then you can build a Infinitivsatz mit zu. That was Infinitivsatz plus zu. Let's go to Konjunktion zu. Zu is actually a conjunction. And as you see, I wrote there in the translation this in order to. I know in most situations you will find English translations with to, but to make sure you have the right zu, try to translate it with in order to. So before, for the Infinitivsatz plus zu, we ask the question what. But for Konjunktion zu, you ask the question why, warum oder wieso. Beispiel. Tom lernt Deutsch, eine Arbeit in Deutschland zu finden. Tom lernt Deutsch, eine Arbeit in Deutschland zu finden. Tom is learning German to find a job in Germany, or in order to find a job in Germany. Oder Martha lernt Deutsch, mit ihrer Freundin zu kommunizieren. Martha lernt Deutsch, mit ihrer Freundin zu kommunizieren. Martha is learning German to communicate with her friend. Or Martha is learning German in order to communicate with her friend. Now, as mentioned here, we ask the question why. And again, we focus on the main clause, on the Hauptsatz, on the first part here. Because zu is also a subordinate clause. So we focus on the main clause and Tom lernt Deutsch. And then we ask why. Warum? Warum lernt er Deutsch? Eine Arbeit in Deutschland zu finden. Oder Martha lernt Deutsch. Warum? Mit ihrer Freundin zu kommunizieren. Now, let me show you something. When we put this in red again, so we have the main clause, Tom lernt Deutsch. Can you ask the question, was? What? No, doesn't make any sense, right? You wouldn't answer anything. Tom lernt Deutsch, what? Doesn't make sense. But Tom lernt Deutsch, why? Makes sense. Martha lernt Deutsch, was? Doesn't make sense. But Martha lernt Deutsch, why? This one makes sense. So here you have to use this zu Konjunktion. Anderes Beispiel. Laura macht Yoga, sich zu entspannen. Laura macht Yoga, sich zu entspannen. Laura does yoga to relax. Oder sie arbeitet viel, ein Auto zu kaufen. Sie arbeitet viel, ein Auto zu kaufen. She works a lot to buy a car. And here as well, ask the question why. Why does Laura make yoga? Sich zu entspannen, to relax. Or why does she work a lot? Warum arbeitet sie viel? Ein Auto zu kaufen. Ein anderes Beispiel. Tom geht jeden Tag joggen, abzunehmen. Tom geht jeden Tag joggen, abzunehmen. Tom goes jogging every day to lose weight. Now, the same goal you can also put in a different way. Tom isst ab morgen weniger, nicht zunehmen. Tom isst ab morgen weniger, nicht zunehmen. From tomorrow on, Tom will eat less in order to not gain weight. Why I chose those examples? Because zunehmen, to gain weight, and abnehmen, to lose weight, are both separable verbs, trennbare Verben. And here you see they're special about those when you have an Infinitivsatz mit zu or a zu sentence. This zu stands not in front of the verb, it stands actually in the verb. So it's between the prefix ab oder zu and then the verb. So abzunehmen und zunehmen. And this goes for all separable verbs. But here again, you can ask why. Why is Tom going jogging? To lose weight. Why does he want to eat less from tomorrow on? To not gain weight. And the question was wouldn't make any sense. Now I would like to give you a special one, a little bit a longer sentence, which has a Infinitivsatz mit zu plus a zu sentence. Tom hat angefangen, Deutsch zu lernen, in Deutschland eine Arbeit zu finden. Yes, you can combine them. Tom hat angefangen, Deutsch zu lernen. Deutsch zu lernen ist der Infinitivsatz, in Deutschland eine Arbeit zu finden. Zu finden ist das zu sentence. Tom has started to learn German to find a job in Germany. Now here you can ask again, was? Tom hat angefangen. What did he start? Deutsch zu lernen. And why did he start to learn German? In Deutschland eine Arbeit zu finden. Bonustipp! If you are at B1 level and you already had this zu topic, then you definitely also have seen this damit. And this damit and zu can be used for the same thing. But there's one important rule you have to keep in mind. Zu is only possible if the subject in the Hauptsatz, main clause, and Nebensatz, subordinate clause, is the same. They have to match. The subject has to be the same. For damit, different subjects are possible. So if you have different subjects in the main clause and the subordinate clause, then you can only use damit. If you have the same subject, you can use both, whatever you like. Zum Beispiel, ich mache Sport, fit zu bleiben. Ich mache Sport, fit zu bleiben. I do sports in order to stay fit. Oder ich mache Sport, damit ich fit bleibe. Ich mache Sport, damit ich fit bleibe. I do sports so that I stay fit. Both the same meaning, both completely fine. Now when we look at the subject, in the first one, ich mache Sport, fit zu bleiben. There you have ich in the main clause subject, and fit zu bleiben, the infinitive clause with zu, never shows you the subject. That's why it's only possible to use it if it's the same subject. For damit, you always have to show both subjects. Ich mache Sport, damit ich fit bleibe. You cannot say ich mache Sport, damit fit bleibe. This wouldn't work. You cannot drop this second ich here. You have to mention or write both. Now let's change it. Let's start with a damit sentence. Ich lerne Deutsch, damit meine Freundin mich versteht. Ich lerne Deutsch, damit meine Freundin mich versteht. First part, main clause, the subject is still ich. Damit meine Freundin mich versteht, the subject here is meine Freundin. So it's a different subject. So let's try to make a zu sentence. Ich lerne Deutsch, meine Freundin mich zu verstehen. Ich lerne Deutsch, meine Freundin mich zu verstehen. This doesn't work. That's wrong. Possible would be, ich lerne Deutsch, meine Freundin zu verstehen. Ich lerne Deutsch, meine Freundin zu verstehen. I learned German in order to understand my girlfriend. And the second bonus tip is about Infinitivsatz ohne zu, or in other words, sometimes it's not possible to make an Infinitivsatz with zu. And here, little quick, all the points. After all 6 modal verbs, you cannot build the Infinitivsatz mit zu. It's like what we had in the beginning. Ich möchte Deutsch lernen. You cannot say ich möchte Deutsch zu lernen. This would be wrong. Also, you cannot build the Infinitivsatz mit zu after werden for Futur 1. After sehen, hören, fühlen, and more of those feeling verbs. After gehen, fahren oder kommen, and more of those movement verbs. If you are this kind of student who likes to learn with lists, then maybe those 2 videos here will help. This is kind of the traditional way to explain you the Infinitivsatz mit zu und Infinitivsatz ohne zu. Hope it helps, hope you learned something. Bis zum nächsten Mal, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss und bye bye.